It's been 20 years since Rob Zombie paved his way into the world of horror with House of a Thousand Corpses.
Love it or hate it, Rob Zombie is a very big part of the horror genre. Of course, starting with House of a Thousand Corpses just over 20 years ago. This film is very influential, very iconic, and there's a lot to talk about here.
There is a lot to talk about with this film. It is heavily inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, by things like The Hills Have Eyes. You get a Rocky Horror Picture Show in there as well. Lots of things inspired this film, and honestly, I would, definitely go as far to say this is a horror masterpiece.
Would I be surprised?
This movie would come out after Rob Zombie would work with Universal Studios as well on creating a haunted house, which was pretty much just House of a Thousand Corpses in haunted house form.
Tour is about to begin.
It grabs your attention very quickly, and we get given one of the most iconic horror characters of all time straight from the opening scene.
No, exactly right. I think that if you have heard of House of a Thousand Corpses, or if you know anything about it, the first thing that you will think of when you hear about this movie is Captain Spaulding.
Life and death are meaningless, and pain is God.
And he really is an iconic character, and what an amazing character to use in the opening of the film. It really does suck you in.
1, fuck your mama. 2, fuck your sister.
It really has you on edge and asking what is going to happen next.
Even Captain Spaulding, not just a great performance, a great look, but even he is well defined as a character. He is this larger than life clown style character who loves this fried chicken that he makes, who runs a gas station, which is also a carnival ride. There's a lot going on with him. He's very well defined, and that's why it works so well.
Most of all, fuck you.
And I think that that's where you can really see how much love Rob Zombie has put into this film.
Gotcha.
Further characters that we get introduced to, specifically the bad ones, even the smaller ones, there's just so much depth to them. It has you wanting to know more.
The film very quickly brings us to the main protagonists of this movie, played by Chris Hardwick, for those who know him, the guy from Talking Dead, which it's amazing to see him in a movie, and also, of course, Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office.
That's Dwight from The Office.
These guys are great actors.
Straight off the bat, it's not sort of what we expected, but you see him and you're like, wow, like they have managed to pull in some really seasoned actors for this film, and instantly another thing that really draws you in. And it really is quite surprising that he managed to do it, being that it was his first film.
Yeah, exactly. I guess maybe that was why there was so much attention to the actors, because he wanted to have a great first outing. Let's say some of his other movies that he made weren't cast as well for Rob Zombie, but this one, every spot seemed to be filmed by a great performance here, and it was a lot of fun to see Dwight in this. Definitely
a lot of fun, and maybe I would like to say a more serious role, but there are definitely moments where it probably isn't as serious, and I think that sort of sets the tone for the movie as well. The movie is, I suppose, a film that I could definitely consider it as a horror comedy. There are moments in there that are on the funnier side. There are characters in there that are over the top, dramatic, and I think that it works really well.
Yeah, and Rob loves to do jokes. He loves to make a lot of jokes throughout these movies.
Let's just say if you've seen a Rob Zombie film, you know Rob Zombie for his tasteful dialogue.
You're gonna wake up Grandma.
Let's say
tasteful dialogue.
Very extremely tasteful, different, unique dialogue. This film is no different. You do get that straight in the opening scene. There are a few words that are said that probably couldn't be said in movies today. However, this really
does push boundaries, let's say.
He does push the boundaries, which makes the film all the more fun, I reckon, and it definitely works for where they're going with this film.
Yeah, well, the protagonists meet Captain Spaulding and are very quickly put onto his murder ride. Instead of seeing classic ghosts and ghouls, they are presented with classic serial killers, as Captain Spaulding describes these serial killers and talks about the history of them, which is kind of like a cool little lesson, I suppose, about them in general. And they finally land on one of the big plot points of the film, which is the serial killer Dr. Satan.
AKA Dr. Satan.
Of course, one of the main guys finds this very interesting, and even has the idea to chase down Dr. Satan and solve the local mystery.
That was so badass! Dr. Satan!
So basically, from here on out,
we are thrust right in.
The
story.
And they meet one of the other main trio of antagonists in this film.
Played none other by Sheri Moon Zombie, Rob Zombie's wife, who features in every single one of his films, which some people hate that idea. I really personally like it. I think that she might not be the most amazing actress in the world, but I think that to have her be so important to him that he would feature her in every single one of his films is just so sweet to me.
Hey, you know where this Dr. Satan tree is at?
Yeah, you know where that's at.
And yeah, pretty much they run into Sheri. Sheri is playing a hitchhiker, and ultimately that's how they end up back at the main house, the Firefly residence.
And again, maybe a bit of a classic cliche, but what's inside this house is not good.
Yeah, and I think you kind of stop caring about the protagonist, and it all starts to become about the antagonist.
And soon enough, we do come into your personal favourite character.
Yeah, my personal favourite character. What a surprise. We are introduced to Otis Driftwood.
You make so much as a fucking peep. I'm gonna cut you like a pig and make you eat your own fucking intestines. You got me?
Otis is a very bad person. But let's say Bill Moseley plays his character to a T. Plays him so well that as bad as Otis is, you do kind of really like his character.
At least you do. Look, I think that Otis's charm, let's call it, won't be lost on people. I think that the badder he is, the more you like him.
Why are you doing this?
Doing what? Messy up your day?
He is unhinged, and unhinged is putting it lightly.
Yes.
He is somebody who will do literally the most grotesque things.
Behold! Fish pie!
But let's just say Otis has a lot of personality, and he does elevate this film in ways that it needs to be elevated. It introduces him as deranged and psychotic, but in a way that's inviting and intriguing, I guess. You want to know more, you want to see more, and I think he's done that really well. Otis's costume design and makeup and everything is fantastic. He really does look like the guy that you would not want to run into when you're out and about in the outback. You're introduced to other characters like Mama Firefly, who's played by Karen Black, who does an amazing job as well. Tiny as well, which was Matthew McGorry, who unfortunately had passed away not long after the second film as well. But he's amazing too. They're all just played so perfectly. They all fit. They're all written perfectly. That's the whole reason why this film works so well, because of how well these characters are written.
They really do look dirty and grotesque and all that sort of stuff. It's not like your high budget horror films where it's all makeup and it's like these guys really do look dirty. So they've portrayed it very well, but even through that, you still enjoy their presence and
Definitely.
And you do warm up to them.
You start to wonder things about yourself, I reckon. You definitely do. I know I did. It's definitely like, on paper, before I had have sat down and watched this film, if I had have read much of it, I probably would have said it wouldn't be the type of film that I'd like.
You learned a lot about yourself.
I did learn a lot about myself watching these films. I think that having it be as stylistic as it is, and having the amazing colours and the music in the background and the characters and how well written they are, it all plays a part in why this film works so well. Because I'm sure that everything that we've said about Otis and the things that he does and the things his family does is instantly saying, oh, I don't know about this one, but it is worth the watch.
This can't be real. This can't be real.
Oh, it's real. Real as I want it to be, Mama.
For a film that's already insane, you're at this point going, oh my God, what can happen next? And it really does only get crazier. We are introduced finally to Dr. Satan, who is not what you pictured he'd be at all. And yeah, it amps it up.
That's right.
Something that's already up.
Starts at a 10 and just goes up.
And it keeps going up.
Goes up from there. It's like they almost sort of like, how do we make this crazier? And I guess that's the one thing to say about the movie. It starts like a pretty normal horror movie, but then all these extra elements start to come in. We're talking like supernatural type elements start to appear towards the end. And
so far towards the end that you think, how is this happening and how are they going to wrap this up?
Yeah.
Like it does happen really out of nowhere after the whole film had seemed pretty like based on real events, I suppose. But yeah, stylistically, the film takes a way different approach. You get a lot of inverted imagery and flashing designs, and it's very Rob Zombie-esque. It feels like one of his music videos. And I think that for this film, it works so well. It sets it apart from any other movie throughout the horror genre. Although it's based on films, the stylistic approach to it really does make it its own thing.
Yeah, I think that Rob Zombie did sort of, I guess, set a tone for himself with this movie, because so many of his films do the classic freeze frame shot, the inverted colors, probably more in this than his other films.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other weird shots. I do appreciate some of his shots where there's a lot of split down the middle shots. And you don't see enough of that in
there's
cinema.
like certain filters on that'll maybe make their faces look a bit distorted and stuff. There are a lot of that throughout this film. And there is a couple of scenes, I suppose, in Devil's Rejects as well, which is the sequel. But yeah, definitely a lot of freeze framing, a lot of amazing songs that play in the background. He features his own songs a lot through it.
Of course,
Honestly, this film covers all bases.
Yeah.
It's really done it all right.
I have a feeling, though, he almost maybe made a bet with people that he could try and get a lot of people, give them seizures, because there is a lot of flashing lights through a lot of his films.
There is. A lot of flashing lights, colours, imagery. Yeah, stuff that maybe could be considered seizure-inducing or make people feel a little bit sick.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. So there's some art choices there that maybe pushes a little bit hard on, but look, it wouldn't be a Rob Zombie movie without these choices. So
Definitely not.
if you haven't seen the film, we do suggest you go out and watch this movie. This is a film that was actually quite big when it came out, and over the years, it sort of has been almost started to be forgotten a little bit.
I think as well. It's definitely been forgotten a little bit. I think, to me, it's a film that I've been told to watch many times throughout my life. I've told everyone that I love horror. Everyone knows that. And it's definitely been a film that a lot of people recommend. And it's always, to me, it's been like, I'll put it on the list, but never really got around to it. But I feel as if this movie should be one of those hidden gems in horror. And I really do think that this film has the ability to go on and be that for many, many years to come. But it does seem like it has been forgotten about.
And, you know, it's one of these things where if you haven't seen it as well, please do go and see it.
Sit down and watch it. Let us know what you think, because, it is one of those films that maybe people have told you to watch before and you've decided not to, but this is us telling you to go and watch it and get back to us on your thoughts.
Yes, exactly right. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next video.
See you next time, guys.
Game over.